Welcome to Kukwami Law Department of Land Reform. My name is Thandeka Mnguni, the Minister for our department, and I'm currently serving my second term. The department looks at racialized ownership as a myth of violence. The work's theme grounds itself in the ideologies constructed by apartheid, which is a racialized takeover of public amenities. We define architecture as an act of announcing and mark-making towards finding forms of ownership and territory. We have been focused in ways that ownership is announced and challenged within public spaces in South Africa, both historically and in the present. We have looked at various sides, but mainly interested in Clifton Beach, a public space that is still battling with ideologies of white ownership. We have categorized ownership under three forms and definitions, which are announcing ownership, challenging ownership, and asserting ownership. Under the category of announcing ownership, we have looked at ways that ownership is claimed even in public spaces through the game of Mnguni, a childhood storytelling game that is very prevalent within Black Township. In the game, we look at the announcement of ownership made by the residents who believe that the public pavement belongs to them.
Yeah, Nina, why are you not playing at your houses? Please do me a favor and move away from here. Go and play by Sippo's house. Nabor, every day I have to come out for you guys. For Tekla.
In the project Backyard Rituals within Clifton Beach, we saw how signages on site begin to police and dictate who is welcome and not welcome.
Chicken burger, and she's like, no, this is private. So when she says this is private, she like makes a gesture of like, this place is private, basically, right? And I'm like, does that mean that I cannot buy food here? And she's like, yes, the place is for members only. And then, so like the way she responded told me that, okay, this person really does not want to serve me food. It's not that she can't serve me food.
Under challenging ownership, we have seen how sound can locate somebody on site and how sound without context holds no violence. It is when it is embedded on site that we start to see the violence. The Black National Crisis Committee organized a protest in Clifton Fort in December 2018 where they slaughtered a sheep and performed an ancestral ritual, saying that they wanted to rid the beach of racist spirit and mythical constructs of ownership. They call upon ancestors such as Umngele and Umadiba to assist them in their fight to reclaim Clifton. This project utilizes the earlier version of Umnguni, where a story will be told whilst the pen is used to mark a paper.
Take away our land! Yeah. We want our land! Yes. We want our land! Yes.
The Dead Will Rise, the return of Nungawusa, is about a young prophetess known for the Xhosa cattle-killing prophecy. She is summoned during the protest, and she is also the director in charge of the spiritual affairs and land claims.
I have come to tell you all that revenge is upon us. Black people have risen to power. They are now more united and stronger. They bear more weapons, not only physical ones, but all the powers they believe. The chains of mental bondage have broken, and they see all that they are, all that we concealed from them. I ask you all, as I know that the war is much greater than we can handle. Gather all that you can carry, all your belongings. Assemble as many sheep as possible. Collect all the records and maps of our voyage from all the museums, and before the rise of the sun, make the journey back home.
As a defense against laws and rules that do not allow them to exist within Clifton Fort Beach, the work proposes an alternative land claim for people who are displaced and replaced during slavery and colonization. Even though they don't have claim in the land in a normative way, the proposed alternative land claim, which consists of rituals, performances, and architecture, allows those who are displaced to be able to access claim to land based on different systems. In order to subvert the current claim process, we looked at the 1995 original claim form. We also looked at Section 2 of the Restitution of Land Right Acts. We further looked at the current land claim process, where one would go to an office where they capture their information, they get a confirmation and a notification via an SMS. So after looking extensively at the current land claim, we proposed our own alternative land claim, which will consist of the following step. Step 1 is that the applicant will go to a chemist and get umseme. Step 2 is the filling out of this application form through the ritual of Upahla, which is a ritual that summons the ancestors. Step 3 is the deliberation process. Step 4 is the approval, where they're taken into the invisible world, ancestral world. The applicants of this land claim are descendants of the San Jose slave shipwreck that happened in 1794, sailing from Mozambique with a cargo of about 512 enslaved persons. The San Jose was en route to Brazil, where it encountered rough seas and smashed on submerged rocks near Clifton shore. More than 212 of the slaves perished in the violent waves, and the surviving 300 were sold into slavery in Cape Town. The descendants of slaves, who are now called the musket bearers, are renamed, unidentified, and have no memory of home. The work makes commentary on Jan van Riebeck's claim to land that did not belong to him or his people, by allowing people who are displaced, even though they do not have claim in the land in a normative way, to be able to access claim to land based on this new proposed alternative system. A chemist or the chemist is where one would get traditional medicine and artifacts from. It is also the office where the applicant will get the application form. The application form is a grass mat called icansi or umseme. The mat includes artifacts that one required to perform the ritual of Upahla, which are incense, candle, and snuff. The mat has directionality, with the arch being the head and the line being the body. The zigzag patterns on the mat are set to remind the viewer to obey the path of their ancestors. Once they receive the application form, the applicant is directed to perform the ritual of Upahla near the water. The first step in the ritual after setting the grass mat on site is to light the candle. A purple candle is used because it connects us to the Holy Spirit, and on site will come the wind so it doesn't interfere with the ritual. The second step is to burn in pepper. Incense is believed to connect one to the ancestors. And lastly, the applicant has to sprinkle snuff on the ground. After that, they then communicate with their ancestors. They start by stating their names and their surnames. They then state their intentions, saying what they want from their ancestors. They express gratitude and then meditate. During the meditation, the ancestors will deliberate. The cutting shot is used to show the ancestors' deliberation. If the candle goes off, then the application is unsuccessful. If it stays on, then it is successful. The high angle shot is used to show the presence of the ancestors. The following are ways that ownership is currently announced on site. There's limited parking space on site. This creates exclusivity. There's a linear narrow entrance. The road acts as a boundary around Clifton Fourth. There's a wall that marks the line between public and private spaces. There are individual houses with residentials that are higher on the slope, having the best views and being more expensive. The title deed belongs to an individual. The ancestral world that the applicant is taken to after the ritual uses principles from the Xhosa Zulu homestead layout, where the entrance leads to the kraal and towards the headman's area. The kraal is centralized, with the family house situated around it. The ancestral world starts to subvert ways ownership is announced on site. The entrance and the exit are through water. The surrounding fencing is extremely high. This begins to obscure the views in the material world. There's a centralized communal kraal. Family homes are enclosed, and the title deed belongs to the entire ancestral world and not individual. Though the ancestral world is invisible on site, its presence is continually felt in the material world. When the applicant burns in paper on site, the ancestors become more visible on site. So the more the ritual of Upahla is performed, the more the ancestral world becomes materialized in the real world. To challenge ownership and ways forms of ownerships are announced on site, the ancestors make microclimatic changes by manipulating the 4 elements. Those changes have an impact on the material world. The first microclimatic change is a temperature change, where the cooking that occurs in the ancestral world increases the temperature in the material world, making it uncomfortable to sunbathe. The second change is the wind change. The ancestors changed the direction of the wind from northwest to southwest. This is to challenge how during colonization and apartheid, the white spaces were chosen because of them being shielded away from the strong Cape winds. The third change is the water change, where the pathways in the ancestral world makes water pool in some places on the beach. This limits the number of activities that can be carried out on the beach. And lastly, the landscape change. The changes in the ancestral landscape starts to cover a portion of the material world. In the portion where the ancestral world is covering the material world, the sun is blocked out and that portion remains shaded. The aim of these microclimatic changes is to reveal how ownership within the beach is fluid and an ongoing invention, rendered continually valid and invalid in spite of physical and bureaucratic boundaries. The project pursues the boundaries that are unsurfaced when blackness is performed within spaces where whiteness holds the myth of ownership, to reprogram those myths and reorchestrate territorial definition and meanings.